bringing Gator Nation a different Gator great every episode.
This is Jabbar Gaffney, and you're listening to the All for the Gators podcast.
Hey, I'm Earl Everett. You're not a Gator, you're Gator bait.
This is Bo Carroll.
Hey, I'm Rita Anthony.
This is Kiwan Ratliff, and you are listening to All for the Gators podcast.
This is Cedric Faison, a.k.a. C4.
This is Brandon James.
This is Jack Jackson. Go Gators.
Hi, this is your boy Jeremy Mincy, a.k.a. Mr. Mintz, and we were the All for the Gators podcast.
This is Ben Trooper. You listening to the All for the Gators podcast.
Hey, guys, this is Jarvis Moss. Go Gators.
You rocking with Lito Shepherd, and we're All for the Gators podcast, man. Top notch.
This is Chris Doring, and you're listening to the All for the Gators podcast.
And now, your Gator alumni hosts, John, Andy, and Sid.
And here we go. It's a big week this week, gentlemen.
It's a big day today.
It is. Yeah, big day today. Swamp King's on Netflix. I haven't seen it yet. How about you guys?
Not yet.
I started it, and then I had to come do the show, and I want to get back and watch the rest of it. It's awesome. From what I saw, the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes is ridiculous.
As you know, I like to go by the Gator Jet, so I'm going to watch the Swamp Things, and then I'm going to flip over and watch on HBO. I'm sorry, it's not HBO anymore, on Max, to see the Hard Knocks. So.
I recommend Swamp Kings, not Swamp Things.
Swamp Things? Swamp Kings?
Yeah.
I don't know. Kings of the Swamp? They're not the things of the swamp?
Kings and things.
I like superheroes. Swamp Thing. Come on now. Heather Locklear.
Now you're talking. Andy, how much have you watched?
Like 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah? What have you gotten out of it so far? Just don't give us too much.
I don't know. I'm going to give it away. I mean, it's early on, obviously. It's one of our former guests is in the beginning of it.
Excellent.
Mr. Harris.
Nice.
So he's in there.
Clearly, those producers know what they're doing because that guy's a star. I could listen to him talk all day. And I imagine he's probably going to be filmed throughout because he is amazing.
Yep.
Shout out to friend of the show.
Yeah, it obviously starts with Urban. So it talks, gets going with Urban's tenure there, when he first came over. How he introduced himself to the team and some of the tactics that he used to try to weed out kind of the guys that weren't all in. And then he talks about how he started finding out who his leaders were. And the first one he talks about is pretty impressive.
Ooh.
Okay.
It's some funny stories coming out of that one. I don't want to ruin it for you guys.
Look at Andy dropping the professional tease. I'm hooked. Maybe we should record the show later. Let's go watch it.
It is funny.
Maybe we should record a reaction episode. A Swamp Kings reaction episode.
Not Swamp Things.
Swamp Kings.
Okay. I'm going to do a double feature. Going to watch the Swamp Kings, and I'm going to watch the 1980s classic Swamp Things, and we're going to compare.
No, but it's really good. It's really good. I can only imagine. I mean, it's a good start, I'll tell you that. I'm hooked.
Talking about a Swamp King. Our guest today sure was. You want to know who he is?
Well, let's find out. Today's Gator great came out of Tampa, Florida, where at Armwood High School, he was considered one of the country's top offensive linemen and the #1 weak side tackle in the nation. By graduation, he was first-team All-State and All-American, and pretty smart too, not just being a part of the National and Latin Honor Societies, but passing up on Big Ten powerhouses Michigan and Ohio State to come play for the Ole Ball Coach in Gainesville. As a Gator, he would anchor that O-line in the swamp for 3 years, playing in 35 games, providing that protection for Rexy, opening up holes for EG and others, on the way to cementing his legacy as one of the best to ever do it in the orange and blue. He'd also go on to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars in the NFL. Gator Nation, I present to you 2-time first-team All-SEC, 3-time All-American, and let's just throw in there 2-time SEC Academic Honor Roll for kicks, Kynes Ironman Award winner, 2000 SEC champ, UF Athletics Hall of Famer, big number 71 on his chest, Michael Wayne Pearson.
There we go.
My mother would be happy you use my full name. She hates that I go by Mike, so that's a good thing.
First things first here. Think happy birthday's in order. Is that right?
You're spending your birthday with us? Wow, what an honor.
Andy with the research.
Yeah.
It's actually today.
How about that?
Thank you.
Well, we'll try to make it worth your time. Thank you. Happy birthday.
I'm finishing off the big day with you guys, the big 4-3. So.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you, guys.
Well, I know when we were first courting you to do the show, you didn't want to go step by step to chronicle your career. But I got to ask you, you were All-State, All-American in high school, right? And then in college at UF, you redshirted in 98. But when you played, you were All-American every year. Why did you redshirt?
because when you get to UF and you're 250 pounds, maybe 255 soaking wet, and Zach Pillar's about 320, there's a pretty good reason why you're not going to be cracking the starting lineup. So it was very obvious that had to put the pounds on, get in the weight room, all those good things that a lot of the young freshmen have to do when we first get there. So I had the footwork, but definitely not the size. So just had to get in there and get going.
Did you have the height though? Were you 6'7" when you got there?
Yeah. I was gonna say, it's not tough being All-State in high school when everybody else is, half your size and half your body weight. So it's kind of easy to get those accolades in high school.
Were you always like the big guy, or did you have like a crazy growth spurt somewhere along the way?
Yeah. I mean, height-wise, definitely always the taller kid. Kind of funny story with high school is when I hate saying get recruited, but I got recruited to Armwood, and when I get there, the principal asked our head coach, he's like, "This guy freaking sucks. He should play basketball." So I didn't even look the part then. It's like this. Fortunately, I guess playing left tackle, you have to have decent feet. So that was kind of the MO there.
Did you play basketball or any other sports?
I did up until my sophomore year, but I think my freshman year we had 22 games and I fouled out of 21. So I figured football was a better route to take.
We actually grew up with Steve Hutchinson, NFL Hall of Famer, Hutch.
Yeah.
In Coral Springs.
He was actually he was one of my hosts when I went to Michigan.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
Great guy.
Okay, yeah, he was a year behind us in high school. I know Andy's brother is a little young, a year behind us in high school, right? And they were buddies.
Yep.
But I know me and Sid were from the same part of the town. So I went to elementary school with him. He was the size of a high schooler in 5th grade.
Yes.
He was gigantic. Did you find that when you got to UF, a football program like UF, that guys were just massive like that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, referring to Zach Pillar, Cooper Carlisle, a lot of these guys that Kenyatta Walker would, when I got there, I think I called my brother and I was like, "Hey man, I don't think I'm going to make it. Like these guys are just 50, 60, 70 pounds heavier than me." He's like, "Don't worry about it. You'll get there." So yeah, big, huge men, just big, large animals.
Yeah. What's the secret to that?
So how do you put the weight on? Like how do you get the size?
For me, honest to God, setting an alarm around 1 a.m. every morning and downing protein shakes and PBJs. I mean, I just had one of those, I guess more, like I said, basketball body types, and I just had to eat all the time. It got to the point where I was just miserable. I just had to eat protein shake or something every single pretty much minute of the day. And especially as hot as it is. And
sure.
Yeah, I mean, especially as hot as it is in Gainesville, it's like the crock pot of the state, so you're always going to be hot and sweaty.
So after you were done playing, though, did you return back to a normal size? Obviously, you're not getting up and eating the proteins in the middle of the night. Was that a bit of an adjustment to go from offensive line size to just normal man in the streets? The
first, every off season, believe it or not, because I'd be 310 or so in the off season, and then when you take a month or so off of just doing nothing, I'd drop 30 pounds.
Wow.
And so I just
so it's hard work to be so big.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'm a different. Like I said, it's some of these guys have these huge, ass and hips, and I was just more of a leaner type of guy, and so for me to put the weight on was just constant eating and being in the weight room. So yeah, it wasn't a huge ordeal. Like now I'm down to 245, so I'm back to kind of looking more like a basketball type.
I always wondered about that because you see the Pounceys after they retired from the NFL and they shrunk. Yeah. And you see like Joe Thomas retire. And
Jeff Saturday.
Yeah, these guys just get tiny. And I was wondering, so it must be just difficult to keep that weight on if it comes off that easy.
It's that. I think you just get tired of sweating all the time. So you figure let's get the LBs down, and that way you're not like just always hot and sweaty as a big O-lineman.
I saw online a video clip of, I think it was a Barstool Sports podcast, and they had Freddie T on. Mm-hmm. And they asked him if the story was true that Georgia left a bag full of $50,000 in cash at his house or on his doorstep or something. And he acknowledged it. He didn't deny it.
Really?
It was a funny kind of conversation, but in the end, it happened. So, you were being courted by Michigan, by Ohio State. Anything crazy like that happen to you?
It's funny because I think Freddie T and Javon and those guys ruined it all for us to get some of those bags of cash. So thanks, Freddie. Thanks, Freddie T.
Right.
You know, he's my favorite. You know, I played with him in Jacksonville, but kind of not. I mean, didn't get a bag of cash, but kind of funny story with Michigan. You know, that was kind of maybe the team I was going to pick besides Florida. So Coach Callahan, my high school coach, and I had come up with this spiel, if you will, for, you know, they're going to put the hard press on you when you're there, when you're at the recruiting trip of, hey, we really want you to sign, want you to commit, blah, blah, blah. So we had kind of came up with this idea of just telling them, hey, if you can get my girlfriend to school here and pay for her room and board and, you know, pay for everything, thinking that nobody would say yes to it, right? Well, I don't know if Michigan wants to hear this, and he's gone now, but the last morning I was there on Sunday morning, was out to breakfast. It was me, Lloyd Carr, and Bo Schembechler.
Bo was still there.
So
Lloyd was the head coach, right? What was Bo doing there?
Bo's like ambassador.
He's the mayor of Ann Arbor.
Right.
You know, and they're kind of putting the full court press, and so they said, what are we going to do to get you here? And I kind of give them that spiel about my girlfriend, about this and that, and without even breaking a sweat, Bo Schembechler.
They're like, no problem.
Schembechler just goes, done. And I'm just sitting there going, oh crap, this didn't work out. Like not what me and Coach Callahan had planned. So then I kind of quickly backpedaled and said, well, let me, you know. So that was my only kind of spiel of getting enticed because, you know, like I said, I think Freddie T and the gang kind of ruined it for us young bucks to try to get any cash.
Did Spurrier recruit you for UF? Was he the one that was doing your recruiting?
Yeah, it was another funny story. Is he came to the house with.
I was going to ask about that because we've heard some house stories here.
So I get, you know, this is in I think early January, I recall, and I'm working out, and my brother calls me at Armwood, you know, because we didn't have cell phones back then. I'm like, "What's up?" He goes, "Man, you better hurry and get home. Coach Spurrier's already here." I'm like, "What?" This is like 5 p.m. So I've come hustling home. I'm all sweaty. I got to jump in the shower. And when I pull up to my house, there's like 50 cars on the street. And every single one of them are either family, friends, like people from high school. And I'm like, my brother Kelly, get these people out. They're all waiting to try to get pictures and autograph with Coach Spurrier because I guess somehow somebody let the cat out of the bag that Coach Spurrier was coming to my house.
It's like Elvis in your neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. So we get in there, and I mean, Coach is just like, you could tell, knowing him now, like this probably wasn't exactly where he wanted to be, but he's just kind of talking to my mom, and we're just sitting there, and sure enough, like we look out the front window, and there's like 10 sets of eyes just looking through our front window in our living room, and I'm like totally embarrassed, and Coach Spurrier just kind of takes it like, you know, water off his back, doesn't bother him at all. And Coach Franks is just kind of chuckling. So he was gracious enough to come to the house. My mom and dad just had a big kick out of it, and something I'll always remember.
Nice. What made you ultimately pick Florida?
I mean, obviously growing up, a huge Gator fan. I'd went to games as a little kid.
Okay.
You know, my dad was a huge fan, and, you know, he's passed away now, but one of the things he told me when I was getting recruited, he's like, Michael, I don't care where you go. I want you to go wherever you're happy, wherever you know, feel the best fit is. But I just want you to know it would be kind of nice to be able to drive 2 hours to see you play versus having to get in a plane all the time. So I would say some of my dad, and then Coach Spurrier actually said something when I was getting recruited, and he said, you know, I used my Spurrier, Michael, where are you going to live when you finish playing ball? I'm like, Coach, I don't know. Good. And he's like, well, you're probably going to live in Florida. I said, yeah, probably will. He said, well, I'm just telling you right now, a degree in playing football at the University of Florida is going to mean a lot more when you live in the state versus University of Michigan. So that kind of hammered it home. I mean, not that I was wavering at all, but that was really kind of the last bit of advice that I needed to make sure I was making the right choice.
Who were some of your favorites? You said you were a fan growing up. Did you have some favorite players?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, obviously Eric Corrett, Shane, and knowing those guys now, it's just fun those guys that I grew up watching. Emmitt Smith, you know, as a little guy. My favorite Gator of all time is Jason Odom. He's a guy that I just looked up to and tried to do my best to kind of follow in his shoes, just because he was obviously, if he's not the greatest Gator lineman of all time, it's got to be him or Lomas Brown. So, I mean, just watching those guys, and then Kevin Carter, Ellis Johnson, got James, my boy James Bates. He's an all-time classic Gator. Just that tough, hard-nosed kind of guy. Lawrence Wright. I mean, that guy just laying the wood to everybody. Willie Jackson. You keep going on, but I just grew up. I mean, I'd sit in the nosebleeds of the north end zone, way up high, and loving every minute of it growing up.
So what was the difference?
Go ahead, Andy.
I was gonna say, what's the difference being on the field versus being in the stands?
A little bit of a difference.
Yeah, it's that raw energy.
Yeah,
and I hope for the kids now who are playing. We've had some ups and downs in the last few years of Gator Nation, but I hope for them they can feel that. It's the absolute best feeling from an atmosphere that you could imagine. I mean, it kicks everyone else's tail from LSU to Tennessee to. I mean, obviously a little better than Vanderbilt Stadium, obviously, but it's like none other. I mean, that crowd. We talk about the feeding of the energy from them, and then the home field advantage. It's 100% legit. I mean, because we would watch teams come out there in the first 10 plays. They had a little bit of juice, and they were trying to keep it going, and then all of a sudden it was just like somebody just hit them as hard as they could, dead in the chops, and then they figured it out like, hey, we are not in Kansas anymore. This is a different place.
I asked that for, we talked a little bit at the beginning of the show, and we won't talk much about it on this one because the other two guys haven't started it, but Swamp Kings came out, and I'm about 10 or 15 minutes in, and they talk a little bit about that, and Urban talks a little bit about, playing at Florida and playing in the SEC. It's a different kind of football. So that's why I was kind of curious what your reaction was to actually being on the field there and coming out.
Yeah, I mean, every game, Aaron Walker and I, it was me, A-Walk, Todd, Brock, just some friends that were friends for life. And every game, A-Walk and I would split the goalpost and then run into each other as hard as we could as we're coming out of the tunnel. And pretty much every game we would go up to our head equipment guy, Timmy Sane, and he would have his hands out because he either knew one of us had either lost our mouthpiece, broken a clip on our helmet, or needed a new chin strap. And we just tried to kind of get that first hit out of the way because I hated waiting. I hated when it wasn't, return team. So it was just, again, something that you won't ever forget the feeling. First couple of games, driving in, and I think what they do now with the Gator Walk is really special. We didn't have that, but we had, our own little deal where we'd come in on the buses and then we'd get dumped off underneath the belly of the stadium with our parents. And I was boohoo crying like a little baby. I mean, it's like this overwhelming, like, holy cow, I'm fixing to do what I kind of, as a little kid, sat there and dreamt of doing, and here we are. So yeah, it's like another. And again, I hope for those guys playing now, really get to experience that because once we get back on top, and I think Billy's going to do a good job, they'll feel it, and they'll feel that energy from the crowd.
I have a question for you about being a student athlete. John mentioned in his great intro about how you were also extremely an academic successful student. We all graduated from UF. Andy was definitely the best student of the three of us, hands down. But, I'm very proud of the degree I have on the wall, but my GPA was about half of what yours was. How in the world did you find the time to excel on the football field, find the time to do so well in the classroom? Clearly, you're getting up at 1 a.m. eating shakes. Like, when did you have, like, mic time to yourself? Or, like, that just doesn't sound like there's enough time in a day for all the things that you must have had to do as a young man, as a student athlete at that time.
It's an easy answer. Her name is Carol Sue Pearson. My mom is 5'11", and she's an elementary school principal. So you figure out where her priorities lied, right? I mean, I didn't have any excuse for kind of just slacking off. She didn't put up with it, and I'm almost positive if I wouldn't have had some good grades, my mom would have tried to come up there and yank me out of school. So I avoided that like a smart guy should. But yeah, just my mom. I mean, she was a career educator. It was important to her, and she was very adamant about taking advantage of the opportunity at a great school. I mean, what a privilege to get a degree from UF, and just I obviously hold that with a lot of pride too when you can put that on your resume.
What did you get your degree in?
Business administration. So
outstanding.
Just utilizing that as best I can in the real world, as I like to say.
Yeah.
So in '99, you get first team freshman All-American, right? And you told us about, when you first got there, you weren't sure, that you were going to make it. But now you're being acknowledged, right? Freshman All-American. What's going through your mind, that first year, getting that kind of accolade?
I think, for offensive linemen, for us, honestly, because we kind of run in that pack, we were just fortunate. We had some really awesome playmakers out there. So I think, not trying to downplay any of maybe my piece in it, but those guys make you look pretty dang good, if that makes sense. When I don't have to hold up that long of blocking the edge, because those guys are running down the field and making plays and
right.
Stepping out of sacks and holes like that. But I just think overall, I think when you've got a talented group of people around you, it really makes your job easier, number one. And then I think, secondly, you want to do as best as you can for them. You really kind of start developing that brotherhood where you want to do well because you know that other guy's dependent on you, whether it's the quarterback throwing the ball behind you or EG running up in the hole. The guys on the other side of the field, Alex Brown and Todd and Andre Davis and Big Money and on and on and on, those guys doing their part. So you really feed off of that success of those guys and kind of living up to that standard of excellence that other people are setting, not only that are on your team, but the guys that did it before you.
Was that part of your longevity? Not wanting to come out, not wanting to miss games because you wanted to be with kind of your brothers? Was that part of it, or was it just luck, or was it the weight room, or what was it that kept you? I mean, you played a lot of games.
Yeah, I honestly, I would say luck is always a little bit involved because unfortunately, luck kind of ran out with in the NFL. But I think being smart in the weight room and putting all your energy and effort into that, I think that's a big key to it. And we had some great strength staffs and Rob Glass, who was there my entire career. He's obviously doing some pretty good things because now I think he's the only strength coach in the country I think he's paid $1 million. So,
wow.
We had some great quality strength staff and support. Adrian Melendez, who was our head athletic trainer, and Matt Walser. I think Matt's still kind of around. Obviously, Chris Patrick. I mean, those guys they would get you back out there and do it in a protective way, not throwing you back out there when they shouldn't, but just really doing a good job of always having us back and ready to go when we get kind of nicked up and dinged up. But you're right. I avoided the big injuries and the injury kind of bugs at UF, so that was definitely a benefit.
So speaking of the weight room, is there any stories there? Any weight room challenges?
Other than Rob Glass throwing way too much weight on the hip sled, and like I said, me and Aaron Walker and our buddy Rob Roberts. So Rob was like the quintessential teammate. Where I don't know if you guys remember Rob Roberts, but from Pasco High and
fullback.
Rob came in as a tight end fullback, and then one spring because we had I think like 19 linemen go down. He played center. So like Rob was just that guy that he would do anything you asked. But anyway, with the weight room stuff, like Rob's getting thrown in with us and the linemen because he was strong enough, but then like if the weight was on there and it maybe was not exactly what he should be doing, like he would get under there and
you'd do it anyway.
Damn near pass out, and we would just leave him on the ground and walk away and be like, okay, he'll be here in a second. Like just keep moving on. Working upstairs our freshman year in that belly of the stadium and the on-ramps or whatever was just miserable. I mean, it's 190 degrees, and you start kind of thinking, man, Michigan might have been kind of nice right now in that weight room. So,
Mike, let me ask you, you brought up Rob Roberts. Let me ask you about that ride you had in the back of his pickup truck in the parking lot of the O-Dome.
Yeah. Yeah, we can laugh about it now. It was just, I would say, not being a very, as Coach Spurrier said, kind of being a dumbass. So, long story short, I think some of you guys recall that a lot of us football players rode around in our scooters. We thought we were like these badasses riding around in scooters, but looking like a bunch of circus bears on a tricycle. So anyhow,
you needed them. There was only 6,000 spaces for 40,000 students. Those things were a lifeblood on the campus. Correct.
That and then riding your bicycle to class at 300 pounds is not fun. So motorized vehicles are better. So anyway, we're on the third level of the parking garage. Rob and I put our scooters in the back of his truck. Rob, being the smarter guy and one of the smartest guys we know, says, "Come on, let's get in the front." I was like, no, I'll sit back here and hold them. Long story short, he's basically fireman carrying me into Shands Hospital when I kind of come to. And from what we could best understand is I'm 6'7", standing up. There's no roof on the third level of the parking garage. I know where I'm going with this. The back of my head collided with a concrete beam in the parking garage.
Oh, my God.
And I came to, and I've got just obviously I'm covered in blood. And I look at Rob and I said, "Hey, Rob, I think my nose is bleeding." He's like, "Shut up, dude." Like, so, I think by the grace of God, honestly, like, Rob was the right guy to be there in that crazy moment. Because I think if it would have been me on the other end, I would have probably panicked and just sat there in shock and not moved, frozen. But then also we were, 2 lights away from Shands Hospital, right on campus.
Thankfully.
So I think, but I guess the silver lining of that whole story is I can no longer smell. Like, I can't smell at all.
Wow.
So you guys could have some terrible BO you could rip in front of me. I've never been allowed to claim that I can't change any diapers because I can't smell them. So
wow,
that was my saving grace when having 3 little boys. Is that when I say I can't smell a thing, I cannot smell one thing. It was because of the skull fracture. So.
Your nasals aside, how in the world did you come back from a skull fracture so fast? You started 33 consecutive games, so you didn't even miss a start from that? That's sounds like Terminator kind of stuff. Like, how's that even possible?
I'm a fast healer. I really don't know. I would say, had that happened today, they may have kind of, not that they weren't, caught or aware of being safe, but I don't know. I took 2 weeks off. Kind of just laid down, rested, and then took another x-ray, and kind of like Billy Bob on Varsity Blues, they said they scanned my cat and I was good. So I went back and started working out. I would say, again, a little silver lining, I missed all of 2 days, so that wasn't that bad.
Positive line. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have to do any 2 days, and other than Coach Spurrier kind of every other day. Mike, you ever heard of Wally Pip? Yeah, Coach. I know who Wally Pip is. I know who Wally Pip is.
I love the Billy Bob reference, though. That's great.
Yes. Yeah, you start all 12 games and the Sugar Bowl that year after the skull fracture. That's amazing. You win the James W. Kynes Award. They give that, I guess that's like an Iron Man award.
Yeah, I think
is that a statue or is that a plaque? What is that?
It's just a plaque, but I think I earned that because of the skull fracture. So they had to give that to me, I think.
Yeah. Well deserved.
Speaking of plaques, we did a little video thing in the beginning of the show. We got to see what's behind you. And I was dying to ask this because I was a collector of those plaques. I think John was too for a while. The ones that show the team, I think had the record. Yeah. I have them for like the pros, but we could never find those for college. How'd you find those? Were they made for you?
Yeah. So every year, when you get your bowl gifts, I think is what they refer to them as, is you could pick you could get the $20 watch, or you could get the back then the CD player. So I got those every year because they're pretty slick, and obviously getting to see some of your buddies that you haven't seen in a while, or every once in a while you come in here and look around and like, all right, hey, I'm not that bad of a player. Certain points in your career kind of just remind yourself that you can do some pretty amazing things when you just put your head down, work hard, and control your attitude and your effort. But yeah, they were given out and you could pick them. So something I cherish a lot for sure.
John, did you notice those?
I did not, but I remember the one they had in I think it was Casbor's.
Yeah.
It was like a wing place that they
all you can eat
opened when
wings.
we were there.
Oh, I remember that place. Yes.
Yeah, and they had the Gators team picture plaque up there. I remember that because, like you said, you couldn't find that anywhere. eBay, anywhere.
I guess you got to be a player.
So I wonder if it was a former player.
Yeah. I'm sure there might be a couple guys who didn't have as fun a time as their career as I did. Maybe to reach out to them.
So you play in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, right, against Miami. How was that for you? Because I mean, today in college football, it just doesn't seem like as big a deal as it was back then to get into a major bowl like that, unless you're playing for the title. So back then, starting in a bowl like that, what did that mean to you?
Yeah, I think you're right. For us, I mean, I would just say important. It was one of those pieces of the equation during the season where if you got to, when we were there, one of those big BCS games, or the Big Four, the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Rose Bowl, or the Fiesta Bowl, like you basically proved to the rest of the country, like, hey, we were one of the top tier teams. And so for us, getting to those games was a big goal. And I think now, for better or worse, because of just all the money involved and things that are kind of pushing all the levers, they're just not as important. But for us, one, it was a huge BCS game, and then probably more importantly, we're playing an in-state team in the Hurricanes. So that was even more of an important kind of rivalry piece of the equation. And it was awesome playing them. They obviously won, and then the next following year they won it all. But they were a great team, and we gave them a run. Just kind of had some turnovers there, costly towards the end of the game. But yeah, it was just a great environment, and New Orleans is an awesome town and fun time for sure.
Was that the year of the brawl?
It was.
Canes Gators.
Yeah, it was.
It was. Were you involved in that, or did you just sit back and watch?
I was just tucked away in my bed and just being a good kid. I wasn't. I was not near the brawl. That was the brawl year for sure down on Bourbon Street.
Well, in 2001, you're named the nation's top offensive tackle by the Sporting News in preseason. So you got to be feeling pretty good going into your redshirt junior year, right?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think everything was lining up correctly. I can't recall if we started off 1 or 2. I know we were 1, 2, or 3 in different polls, and just had a lot of really good players coming back. Obviously, Alex Brown, I think, was kind of the tip of the spear for us with him coming back, and just a great teammate, great player, worked his tail off. Obviously, for me, was vital in kind of how I developed, and being able to go against him all the time helped me to become a better player. But just overall, I mean, we had Rashay, Jabbar, Taylor, Rex was coming off a great kind of first year when he played, the last 6 or 7 games in 2000, and just our defense was awesome. So we were set up to have a really phenomenal run with just the amount of players that we had coming back on both sides of the ball. And again, kind of started with Alex on defense, and Rex, obviously having the year he had in 01 was just still, I said this at our Hall of Fame night, I said this should have been the first sophomore quarterback to win the Heisman.
Definitely.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
Get no argument.
I think that was during that. Yeah, I think that was during those times in the era in college football where the Heisman was still a little bit more of a career award.
Yep,
absolutely.
And so Eric Crouch and his career in Nebraska, not that he didn't deserve it, but I still say Rex.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Outshined him, hands down.
You got any good Rex stories? Because we've had a few guys on talking a little bit about Rex.
Yeah, we have.
The best thing, the best 2 things about Rex is he sucked in practice.
Okay.
I mean, and I don't know. It's because I just always kind of called him Cool Hand Luke. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen that movie, but like nothing fazed him. I mean, he was bulletproof, and I think that's what made him such a great player, is because when he went out there on Saturday, it was good to have the year before that he played in 2000 and just how he showed his talent then. But I mean, you knew it's like it doesn't matter what he does in practice, because when the lights come on, he's just a different dude, man. Like, that guy, and some of the best stories is we come in and, it's hot and we're out there and he's like, hey, you guys tired? Yeah. And he'd call the old blue slide steamers and we're all on the sidelines 6 seconds later. I mean, he just would dial it up and throw the bomb. And obviously Spurrier's not going to say anything because he's throwing a 50-yard bomb. So who cares? It's not the play I called. Well, we scored another point. So it's just he was the funnest teammate because you could give up a sack or you could give up pressure and he didn't say squat. He'd just come up and pat you on the back and be like, all right, let's roll. He was just that type of teammate. He was a quiet leader. Not a big rah kind of guy, but just, man, he let us play and speak enough. He spoke pretty loudly.
He could sling it too.
Yeah, he could. Oh. So you blocked for Rex. You had Ernest Graham in the backfield. You had Rand Carthon. You had Gillespie. Did you prefer pass blocking or run blocking? Did you prefer one over the other, or did it matter?
It didn't matter. I mean, I would say obviously in coach's offense, the priority was to be a better pass blocker because a lot of times our run blocking were draw plays where we're just shoving an end up the field. So I guess I would say I was better at pass pro. As Coach Spurrier said, Michael's not that tough. He just blocked the DN. That's all we need to do. So, my job was pretty easy. It wasn't, I was telling somebody the story the other day is I learned pretty quickly in the team meetings, don't try to argue back and forth with the coach because he's going to have an answer. He's going to kind of get you. And so he says, Michael, how many coverages do you think the QB's got to know? I'm like, 5, Coach. He's like, we got to know 22. And you just got to know one thing, block that guy. That's all I need you to do. So
he had a way of simplifying it, didn't he?
Yeah, and pretty much what was great about Coach is if you did your job, he moved on. Like he didn't really bother with you too much. And frankly, I don't think he really knew exactly what offensive lineman did other than just need a basketball. That was his whole phrase. But yeah, blocking for Ernest, we knew it was going to be more of a power game. And then with Rob G in there, it was a little more of that kind of spread and zone and outside stuff. But, Ernest could dip it outside too because he was just as fast. And then Rob G could get it up in there as well. So, it didn't matter for who was behind us. But all three of them were great players.
Was there a particular defensive line that you felt they just couldn't stop you? That, like, obviously you excelled against everybody, but was there a particular SEC opponent, and don't say Vanderbilt because that's not fair, that just couldn't stop you? Like you were licking your chops to get out there and maul them.
For whatever reason, we would just work LSU.
At that time, you did.
Georgia was always pretty. Yeah, Georgia was always pretty tough with Charles Grant, and they had who was the guy on the other side? I can't think, but Georgia was always played us tough. Tennessee with Will Overstreet and Big John. I played with John Anderson in Jacksonville. That's still one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen in my life. Albert Haynesworth, Al Wilson. Tennessee always played us very tough. South Carolina, they had some really, John Abraham. Trying to think of the other guy. So really LSU, for some reason, either our scheme against them, we matched up really well. But I don't think we ever didn't beat them by 21 when I played.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and I think my last year, I think we beat them it was 48-10 or something stupid. So yeah, LSU was they never gave us a very, very big fit. And we beat them up there twice. So.
Let's talk about your buddy, Aaron Walker. He texted me today and told me to ask you about the time that they powdered you in your room and you came out like a mad, raging grizzly bear. What happened there?
Yeah, so, that was kind of when I was texting you guys about, the fun stuff. So,
yeah.
AWOC, Todd, and Brock Berlin were, the biggest – 2-year-olds in the world, right? Nothing was good enough for them as far as pranking you. The powder thing. So we all lived together. Well, I guess unbeknownst to me, they would powder. What they're talking about powders, they would grab a handful of baking flour, just flour, And while you were in the midst of a deep sleep or nap, they would throw it as hard as they could in your face. And I don't know if you guys have ever done this to anybody, but when it goes in your nose and your mouth, like you feel like you're being suffocated, right? So I'm in my room, and I'll admit I'm a little bit of a neat freak. Like, things got to be in order. Like, you could ask any of the guys and their mom, why can't you clean the room like Michael? Like, I didn't like living like a pig. Like, and I was maybe the weird one in college. Like, I made my bed and etc. But anyway, I'm sitting there and they powder me, and I'm gasping for air, and I just come up like you said, like a freaking grizzly bear out of hibernation. and he walks like ducking down, like getting ready to get cold cocked by me, and Brock and Todd are cowering behind them, and he walks like, don't do it, don't hit us, don't, like he's giving me all the, just calm down, and I finally I had this rage running through my eyes, and I just basically paused, made a U-turn, and just walked out of the house. And I think I just got in the car and left or something. I was just irate, but then cooled off and came back and said, all right, that's pretty good.
Did you get him back?
Well, so that was the thing, is like I said, with the pranks, you didn't want to get them back because they would never stop.
One up
like,
you.
I'm going to get you. Yeah, it's like, I'm going to get you back. And then the next time that you're sitting on the toilet using the restroom, I'm going to come in, I'm going to egg you and throw ketchup on you and syrup and stab you with a fork, and then I'm going to,
You don't want to raise the stakes in that one. No.
At a certain point, and Brock and Todd were kind of the ringleaders, is they would play this, remember the circus music?
Oh, yeah.
The greatest show on earth.
So they would do that, like, you'd be riding around campus, and they'd start singing that, like humming it real loud, like, oh crap, I'm like, something's fixing to happen. and like the next prank, so like I talked about those scooters.
Yeah.
These suckers would pick your scooter up and put it in the dumpster next to Gator Dining. I'm not kidding. And like, so you walk out, you look for your scooter, and then all of a sudden you'd see them ride by, and they're doing that stupid song, and then you just throw your hands up and you're like, and then you'd look around, and then they'd always put it in the spot where you'd kind of have to search, but then you'd look over and your front wheel of your scooter is sticking up out of the dumpster, but then you have to go in the dumpster and get your scooter out.
Oh, man.
So,
just enough so you can see where it is.
Yeah. So to answer your question, like, no, you just let them do their thing because you knew it was just going to be worse and worse. And so you just kind of wrote it out and just said, all right, they'll get tired this week. They'll stop doing the prank. So
did they ever go too far with anybody?
I'm trying to think. Like, for them, there was nothing too far. Like Zadelis one time at a bowl game, they took all of his clothes and put it in their room, and he comes to the door and he's banging on. He's like, "Give me my stuff, give me my stuff." And they open the door and they just had 2 huge buckets of water and doused them, closed the door. So he's out there and he's getting madder and madder. He bangs on the door. He's like, come on. And they're like, all right, Zach, back up. We'll give you your clothes. Back up. Well, what do you think happened, guys? He got 2 more buckets of water.
Of course he did.
On him again. Yeah, it's just, and we all knew, it's like, man, just leave these little 2-year-olds alone and they'll get bored. Like,
that's some guts. He's a big dude.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But these guys, they just one. I guess they knew. Well, Brock knew because he's a quarterback. If you hurt the quarterback, that's going to be bad news. And then Todd, he was too quick to catch them anyway. So you just kind of just let them do their thing and keep rolling with it. So yeah, we had some good times though.
Well, 3 playing years and 3-time All-American, right? You were a freshman All-American, and then you were All-American your 2 other years. I don't think we've had a player on, a Gator great on, that was an All-American every year he played at UF. Have we had anybody else that you can remember, guys?
This might be our most decorated Gator.
It might be, man. That's when you look back at your Gator career, at least. I mean, what does that mean to you to be? I mean, an All-American every year you played.
It's definitely special. Like I said, growing up, and again going back to Jason Odom. I mean, that was a guy that I just, that just wanted to emulate everything he did and how he played and how he carried himself, and tried to do my best to live up to it. And fortunately had some, like I said, really good teams and people that, again, would make your job easier and help you shine. And then now as a dad and taking my boys up there to games and some of the stuff that sometimes you can come across or people will see or recognize, it's definitely special. I mean, it was a time that I'll never forget. I'm always grateful for. I tell people that all the time. I was a Pearson by birth. I was a Gator by the grace of God, kind of like Coach always says. It's just it's something that you cherish, you don't take for granted. And kind of what I said earlier is I just hope and pray that the guys on the team that's there now, they're having the same experience that we all did, because it was just a special place. It's something I'm forever grateful for. Just for everything, stuff that you get in your life and opportunities too, with being associated with that place.
What do you miss the most about playing in college?
Probably like most guys in the locker room. I mean, just that camaraderie, the you commiserate at certain points, going through things that are very intimate and private, but that they help you in your next phases of life. I think especially too with the dynamic of a team with so many different personality traits, with so many different backgrounds from where people come from and things they've been through in their life, and then everybody coming together for that one goal. I think that's the locker room is what you'll miss forever. And when you get into what I always say, the real world is you try to strive to build that team and that camaraderie and that culture, but there's just nothing like it, nothing compares to it.
Sure.
And and then Gator Nation on Saturday at 3:30 on CBS, like that's where it's at, dude. I mean, I don't know how it is now, but when we played, you wanted that 3:30 CBS game, so that's what I loved.
Was it hard for Brock to leave? Do you remember?
We talked a lot. Because he and I we're in each other's weddings. We go on vacation together still. I just talked to him 2 times a day about some stuff we're kind of working through. I would say it was hard, like I just mentioned about the locker room, because he had some really, really great friends at UF. Right. But we all knew at the end of the day, for him, we knew that it was the best move for him. I think
he wasn't going to beat out Rex.
Yeah, and I think even looking back, I mean, who the heck knew that this kid from Bloomington, Indiana, was going to be maybe the number 3 or 2 number 2 all-time Gator quarterback. He's number 1 in my book, but obviously some people may argue. But I mean, you just didn't know that. And on paper, I mean, obviously Brock had all the intangibles. And I think, too, if Rex doesn't play that first, flip a coin, when Rex played that next game, because, Jesse got hurt in the Mississippi State game, and then Coach decided to start Rex against Auburn the next game, and the guy goes out and throws 5 touchdowns in the first half.
Yeah.
I'm not saying –
it was a sign of things to come.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I'm not saying Brock couldn't have done that either. So it's just one of those deals where – the opportunity that Rex had, he took it and never relinquished it. And I think Brock would say it as well on if he was speaking, that look, he took a chance where he could get some opportunity. So yeah, I think he struggled with it just because he really wanted to do great things at UF, but he had to get to Miami to get an opportunity. He did great things down there. So.
You've mentioned Brock a few times and friend of the show, Aaron Walker. What other former teammates do you keep in touch with regularly?
Yeah, so Todd Johnson and we actually worked together for a few years in the med device field. And he lives an hour away, so see him quite a bit, talk to him a bunch. Rob Roberts. Rob is kind of like our, man of many talents, and he's our sage when it comes to what book should we read? What should we be trying to better ourselves with? So he's the guy I go to with, hey man, you got any Ryan Holiday books you can recommend or something to kind of keep us motivated and trying to get better. Talk with a lot of guys on our tech strand, and then fortunately we get to see each other usually about once a year. We always try to get up to one Gator game where we can all kind of come back, hang out, and I talk with Cooper Carlisle a lot. He's been a really good influence in my life, and Cooper's a great mentor, and owe him a lot because a lot of people don't know this, but my freshman year, he was actually the starting left tackle.
Yeah, he got hurt, and you got his job, right?
Well, yeah. Well, Ryan Kalick got hurt.
Kalick got hurt. That's right. They moved Carlisle.
They moved Cooper inside to guard, and I mean, I tell him this all the time, and he's so humble about it. And I said, Coop, I owe a lot of the start and success that I had because of you, because he could have easily, kicked and screamed and said, I ain't doing it. But just the type of guy and the man he is, he just went inside, and I even tell people, I mean, my freshman year, I think every single play, I'm like, Cooper, what do I got? What do I got? So, he was just a great friend, so I keep in touch with him a lot. James Bates, see Shane every once in a while. Doug Johnson, see him up at games and stuff. And then guys like Reed Fleming and Matt McCowan, Eric Johnson, who's a fullback, long snapper, see Jeff Chandler. So just we all keep in touch, and I think we're all, again, just part of that tight, family brotherhood that we had in that locker room. Yeah.
That's really great to hear.
I'm sure one of those guys would be willing to give up that team picture plaque. I'm sure.
I don't know if any of those guys will. There may be some others, but I don't. Maybe like our boy Tim Olmstead from the '99 team might not want his Gator plaque anymore. I don't know.
When you look back, do you have any favorite plays or maybe like just a memory that stays with you? Maybe a pancake against a big time defensive lineman, or any kind of memories that stay with you?
Two of the most memorable ones is obviously the no catch up in Neyland.
Jabbar?
Jabbar.
Which people forget. The very play before, we got caught up for illegal formation because we had a tight end that like his hand was maybe half of a length too far up into the line for 8. So anyway, I mean, we caught a touchdown the play before, but that play I remember very vividly. And then our last game versus FSU, AWalk and I are doubling up on a D end, and I've got him held up, and then Aaron just comes and creams him, and he goes falling, like the D end goes falling up over his head, and there's kind of like a picture where it looks like I'm picking him up and dunking him on his head, but it's only simply because of the momentum and my hands are still with him. So, stuff like that. Like it's a cool play that I can act like I dumped him on his head, but I didn't do anything other than just AWalk crushed him, and I was able to have my hands on him while the cameraman shot the photo. But the FSU games, I mean, obviously because our trials and tribulations against that group up there up north, we only beat them once, but the last one was pretty sweet. So those two games stand out pretty well in my head. And my first SEC start on the road at LSU up there. You talk about some crazy Cajuns. I mean, those people are they're cuckoo. And you've understood the night before the game when our security detail was like, guys, don't take your helmets off in pregame. Don't stand near the sidelines. And we're like, what are they talking about? And all of a sudden, like, they're throwing like these batteries and stuff at you. This is back obviously before 9/11. Like they're throwing little AA batteries at you.
Wow. Like you're playing the Raiders.
Yeah, exactly. Playing in Jacksonville with the Bulldogs was always probably the coolest college environment I've ever been in, because when you look down the field, I mean, there's a definitive dividing line between where the Gator fans start and stop.
Yeah, that's always cool.
So that was just a great experience.
Yeah. Let's talk about Jacksonville 2002 NFL Draft. Where were you when you got the call? Second round, going to the Jaguars.
Yeah, so we had family and friends at our local Beef O'Brady's here in Seffner Armwood. Just a great time. It was again kind of that young kid experience and dream of, man, I'd love to do this and play professionally one day, and then to have your name called and to get the phone call when you're sitting there around family and friends and just thinking, holy cow, I'm actually getting to stay here in the state, which was just kind of an added bonus, obviously. So just an awesome day, awesome time. Again, one of those moments you know exactly where you were and who was all with you and surrounded you and enjoying the moment.
You went early second round. Did you think you were going to go in the first? Was there any inclination you were going to be a first round pick? I mean, 5 offensive linemen, I think, went in that draft.
Yeah, I think
Kind of thought you'd be one of them.
I hoped for it.
Okay.
But obviously, you don't have a huge say in the matter, other than I think where I fell was a great spot, and the guys that went ahead of me, they were phenomenal players too. I think where I probably lacked what they had is those guys were behemoths. Like Mike Williams from Texas was like 360, and Brian McKinney was 350, and Mark Colombo 3. So I was kind of that skinny guy.
Compared to those guys.
But yeah, exactly. So for me, it was just I think I fell right where I should have been, needed to be, and like I said, getting to stay in the state was a huge bonus.
And you sort of mirror your Gator career, right? In Jacksonville, you rip off 31 straight starts with the Jags.
Yeah,
you had a nice run there for several years.
Yeah, no, it was all kind of going according to plan, and then just had a really unfortunate, nasty knee injury that really was really kind of the end of the career. But that happens in our sport, right? It's nothing that a lot of people haven't had happen to them. And again, I take it from the perspective of, man, I'm so glad I got to do it versus, man, I didn't get to. So even though it didn't necessarily finish and all the things that I had hoped for, I definitely got to do a lot of things that only people get to dream about. So I don't ever look at it with anything but just gratitude and a great experience from my perspective.
Who are some of your favorite teammates from the league?
Brunell was a great, just a good role model. The guy was consummate pro. When I got there, I think he was the first or second guy to greet me. He was very blunt and said, "Look, there's some high expectations for you, and you're going to do it. So don't have an attitude or don't think you can't. You were picked for a reason," and kind of just instilled confidence in you, even if you hadn't earned it yet. Because I think that was big for him, is he wanted you to feel confident in your job. Freddie T, like I said, Mark or Fred, but either 1-2 or 2-1 as far as when they can. And Fred was just a great teammate. One of those same kind of like Rex, very cool hand Luke, and didn't mouth off, didn't yell at his teammates. Thank God he could step out of some missed blocks and then take it to the house, because that guy was just a phenomenal athlete, player. I mean, for a man that big to run as fast as he could and to stop on the dime, and he was just Freddie T was awesome. Kyle Brady is one of the funniest people you'll ever meet in your entire life. Yeah, big tight end. I mean, he's just hilarious. One of my still really good buddies, even now today, Chris Luzar. He's a tight end. He and I were rookies together. And those are probably the main guys that I still have some interactions with. Because, in the NFL, I don't want to say the locker room is different, but the dynamic has a different twist, because obviously now you've got money running around. You've got some either well-paid guys who maybe are overpaid, and you've got some guys who are underpaid, and just the whole dynamic with it is a job now. That was the one thing that kind of was very shocking to me in my rookie year, is that, hey, this is a job now.
All right, 2013 is probably a special year for you, right? UF Athletics Hall of Fame induction. Tell us about that day and what that means to you and your family.
Yeah, it was starting with the phone call. Got a call from the 352 number, and obviously, okay, hey, I know this is Gainesville, so I'm actually at the time I was doing medical device sales, and I was in the OR. In the operating room, and I see the 352 pop up. I'm like, oh man, maybe so I step out.
You're in the OR. What are you selling mid-surgery?
So we're actually doing a surgical procedure.
That's tenacious.
Yeah. So I see the number. I come out and hello, it's Mike, and it's, hey, Mike, it's Jeremy Foley, and I was like,
wow.
oh crap. Like, yeah, you know, because you start thinking, all right, I haven't talked to this guy in a couple of years. I didn't take any bags of cash like Freddie T and Javon, so big intro for that. You know, so just not the, you know, just, I'm like, what the heck? So he's like, hey, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, I'm just at work, Jeremy, what's going on? And, you know, how are you? Pleasantries. And he's like, well, just wanted to be the first to call you that you're going to be in the UF Hall of Fame. And I just kind of, not to say you think it's a prank, but you just like, huh? Like, what did you just say? Because it's like,
run that by me again.
Yeah, like, what are you talking about? Like, what Hall of Fame are you talking about? And he just starts laughing. He's like, yeah. He said, well, you know, you had a panel and you were nominated, and he just kind of goes through the whole thing, and you're just sitting there going, like, you almost keep going, like, you serious? Like, come on, man, this is not. So it didn't really like sink in until honestly, like, I got home that day, and my wife's like, what's going on? I'm like, they just told me I got in the Hall of Fame. So I'm still even now kind of, it's again, being a Gator fan, growing up watching that team. You know, when you're there at school and you go up into the north end zone and touchdown terrace, as I'm sure you guys have been up there, and the faces and the plaques on that wall, you let yourself kind of walk around every once in a while and, you know, I guess daydream would be the only word you can kind of describe it. Hey, could I ever get up here on this wall, or could I do something that would warrant me being up there? And
you had to think you had a shot. I mean, you were an All-American every year you played. You know?
Well, you know, to be honest, I didn't.
It's tough to do better than that.
You know, because I think, one, you know, offensive line, maybe the way we think, we're like, you know, we're kind of like mushrooms, just keep us in the dark and feed us, you know what. So we're just
I never heard that before. That was,
you know, yeah, I don't know. I didn't ever think of myself in the same regard as those people, and I still don't, to be honest. Like, I think, you know, just it's an honor and something, again, that I have a deep respect for the other people that are in there, and every year it's really cool for me to like see the guys that are going in, and some of the guys that I played with, you know, like Jabbar and Kiwan, got to go in with Rex. So those are some kind of special things that those guys, like, I 100% have no doubt, like, hey, they belong in there, and again, not trying to over humble myself with it, but just a great honor. I was thrilled to do it. And then the ceremony, again, you know, with the friends we talked about, like A-Walk, Todd, you know, Rex, Rob, you know, all these, Greg Calinoti that played baseball at UF, and I were good buddies. My family was there, and just a great honor that, you know, and what was really cool for me is my two older boys were old enough, so they were there with me. So that was always something I think is cool, because they remember that and that special part of that ceremony and that day.
How old are you boys now?
My oldest is 16. McLean, he's got into the running stuff. Like, I don't know where the heck he got that from. Sprinter, cross country, all that jazz. Like, kid's an animal. And then my ninth grader, Mitchell, is a freshman on the football team, and he just had his first start last Friday at center. He's 6 foot, 150 pounds, soaking wet, so he's a big animal. But he's caught onto the football bug. And then my we still call him our baby, but the little guy is 7 years old, and he looks like he's about 13. So
nice.
He's gonna be the big one, I think, of the three. So his name is Major. So he's pretty major. He's just keeps us on our toes, and his older brothers dump him in the bed like they're in a WWF wrestling match.
They powder him up.
They do pull pranks on him, and I think my mom says he acts just like I did, and I see the responses that those other guys are telling you about, because my little guy, like, comes at him with some rage in his eyes. So he pushes back against his big brothers.
Man, it's your birthday today, Mike, and I was trying to get my wife to come in here and sing you happy birthday Marilyn Monroe style.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
You're going to stuff her in a cake?
I don't think she's going to do it. All right, Mike, so we usually end the show in a bit, and since it's your birthday, I'm going to let you pick. We've never done this before.
Uh-oh.
We do a 5 for 5. We do a Mount Rushmore. We do a Build an Ultimate Dog. Which one would you want to do?
Let's try to build a dog.
All right.
Sounds kind of different.
Yes.
You want to be an ultimate dog on the O-line?
Yeah.
Last time we did this, Lito took over and
did.
totally made up his own rules. So we could either give you the characteristic, right, like power, speed, whatever, footwork, or you could just piece part your ultimate dog at O-line yourself.
Oh, I think we should go like the sexiest O-line. You know,
now you're talking.
Dog. Like
sexiest.
You know, like because all of us, we all think we're pretty, you know, in some form or fashion. So I would have to say the best legs would definitely not be me because I look like an ostrich. So maybe best legs I'll give to I don't know if you guys remember a guy named Eric Strange, but he had some great calves. Best arms, guys that just like we always call them the all body team. Like, man, when these guys are, you know, so best arms would probably be Zach Sedalis because he freaking was just massive.
We booked him for a show. He's going to be on the show soon.
Future friend of the show,
Sedalis.
Yeah, next month.
There we go. Zedeus he'll be a fun one because Zach is.
You got to tell us some stories about him offline so I could bring it
That's
up.
Right, you got to prepare us with some questions so we can catch him off guard.
I'll forewarn you, some of them we can't talk about online anyway. But best hair would probably be Ben Brown, and these are guys that you know maybe you guys do or don't recognize, but Ben had just some great poofy hair. And probably best ass was Kenyatta Walker. Like his ass was like I don't know, like. Put like 3 or 4 people's asses together, and that's how big Kenyatta's ass was. So
it helped him get the job done.
Sexy dog.
100%. That's why that guy was just a great player, one of the all-time greats too. He just was so powerful. So that would be kind of the sexy O lineman, and then
the sexy dog.
You know, the player-wise, obviously you got to have Jason Odom, Lomas Brown, Zimmerman, Jeff Mitchell.
Good one.
And gosh, who else? I'm going to miss somebody that's going to be mad at it and put them in. But
you could pick a Shannon Snell.
And Snell, yeah.
Yeah, well, Shannon, Tampa guy, so I'll throw him in there. And then Max Starks is the biggest human being on the face of the earth. So I mean, that's how you would make a great offensive lineman. Put all those bodies together.
All right, Mike Pearson, man, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on with us. 3-time All-American. You played 3 years there. You were there for 4, left your stamp on a legacy at the University of Florida, UF Hall of Famer. Thank you so much for taking the time to do our show, man. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Mike.
I love it, guys. Thanks for having me, and go Gators.
Go Gators. Man, once again, a guy that, you know, it just feels like could have been one of our college buddies at UF.
Now he's our buddy, and we went to the same college. Can we still say he's our college buddy at UF? I'm okay with that.
I don't know. He's a 3-time All-American and UF Hall of Famer, and we're just us. So
we are us, and that's okay.
We're doing public service for Gator Nation, bringing them all the Gator greats with some awesome stories and stuff that you've just never heard before, and it's pretty cool that we get to do it.
Yes,
he's up there with his Spurrier impression too.
That was a good one. Yes.
Yeah, he had a good one.
Oh, he had some good ones.
He did.
Not just the impressions, but like the stuff Spurrier says, man, just hilarious.
Hilarious. Yeah, that was great.
Reminded me of the Judd one. Don't miss. Like, he just makes it so easy. You tell these guys stuff that's like, all you gotta do is block that one guy. You block the one
guy. Oh man. All right, guys. Get right into our 2 bits here.
Oh boy. There's a lot to choose from today. That was a good one. There's a lot to unpack there.
I'll go first since you guys are
Who's first?
Taking too long.
Do you guys take notes during the show, or do you just immediately think and pick off the top of your head? Because this seems like,
as David Lee Ross says, I got my pencils. I'm always ready
I do
for
both.
school.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It kind of depends on the interview. Today I just remember it because it was it's a great movie, and it's the it's the Varsity Blues reference to Billy Bob after he had the skull fracture.
Oh yeah,
and now he can't smell. But man, the Billy Bob reference was great. They scam a cat. I can play.
That's great.
So that's fine. You had a CAT scan. You have a brain, and it works. So that's mine. That was a crazy story, though. I mean, standing up in a truck in a parking garage.
That actually was the biggest takeaway from for his interview for me too. What a dreadful experience that must be. I'm 6'5", not quite as tall as him, but I bang my head everywhere, ceiling fans, doors. I mean, I just do. Doing that on the back of a vehicle with a cement pillar, it's amazing. And he didn't even miss a game. I mean, God.
That's crazy.
And even, losing smell notwithstanding, when he graduated academic, imagine how smart he could have been if he didn't hit his head, right? Good golly.
SEC academic honor roll.
That's what I was going for. Yes, very impressive.
Yeah, that was when you mentioned riding in a pickup truck. I had no idea, and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be some funny story. And I'm like,
yeah, I didn't know. I had messaged Aaron Walker earlier and said, hey, you got anything I should ask Mike tonight? And he gave me those 2 tidbits, and that was one. Pickup truck. So I'm thinking, it's some fun story of them.
Well, shout out to friend of the show, Aaron Walker. Thank you for helping us get to the inside that story there.
Yep.
My 2 bits. So Sid, you did your 2 bits, right?
Does that count? I kind of just piggybacked on.
Yeah, that counts.
Oh, okay. I've been Wally picked.
The show ran long, Sid. Sorry.
Okay. Edit me out. I'll fix it in post.
All right. My 2 bits is that he was All-State, All-American, All-World in high school. He redshirts, doesn't think he's going to be good enough to make it at UF, right? So he's on the scout team for a year. And all he does in his next 3 years is earn All-American accolades every year he played at UF. It's just, it's amazing to me. The work he must have put in to build his body, to do what he needed to do, to compete with a program like UF and the other linemen that were there and they brought in. And he did it. And he did a damn good job because now he's in the UF Hall of Fame. So I just think that's pretty damn spectacular that he was able to do that. So that's my 2 bits.
And how? All right.
And it's a small world that Hutch was his sponsor up at Michigan.
Right.
Yeah.
Small world.
Absolutely.
Makes sense, though. Another offensive lineman.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, guys. Well, the schedule is getting loaded up again. Just got another confirmed date.
You're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Super producer.
Appreciate it.
Super producer.
So now, oh my gosh. He's texting me all these phone numbers. They're gonna take out restraining orders on me.
Uh-oh.
All our potential Gator great guests. There are some we're really trying hard to get, and everything's falling into place, man. We've gotten some really good ones. We got some really good ones on the way. Just go to allforthegatorspodcast.com. 4 is the number 4. You can see all our scheduled guests, the dates, and you can listen to any show you want. Any show we've ever done is right there on the webpage as well. Allforthegatorspodcast.com. Guys, man, I wouldn't want to do the show with anybody else. How about that?
Well, thank you. It's good to know. All right.
Likewise. Well said, sir. Well said, sir.
I'd like Sid to be a little quieter at times. But
I have to say that's not the first time somebody has said that to me.
Don't you have to get to your Tinder date? What's going on?
I don't kiss and tell.
Okay. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
He's going to go watch Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
Heather Locklear. That Swamp Thing 2 actually is with Heather Locklear. It's Adrian Barbeau's in the first Swamp Thing.
That's not how you refer to your Tinder date, is it?
Oh, God.
I don't kiss and tell.
All right. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.